Hello, very good evening and welcome to Straight TV Primetime News. I'm Kalum Bandara. Let's look at the headlines first.
40% Tamil votes will cast President Rajapaksa, Subramaniam Swamy says. Pakistan President meets Sri Lankan Air Force Commander. Former CJ at exclusive Navy house in KK's.
Nearly 1 week after the presidential election was announced, 2 more cabinet ministers have already pledged support to the common opposition and will cross over at any time.
With them, 2 highly popular female provincial councillors of the ruling party will also extend their support to the common candidate, highly placed political sources said last night. One cabinet minister who was brought into politics by the former president in a run-up to the executive presidency in 1994 represents the district of Colombo. Even before the former president joined the political campaign on the common opposition, the minister had close relations with Kumaratunga. The other cabinet minister, who comes from a political family, is from the hill country. He has already indicated that he is dissatisfied with the certain developments within the ruling party. He is likely to join the common opposition after the Colombo district cabinet ministers crossover.
Many an eyebrow has been raised over former Chief Justice Sarath Nanda Silva staying at Navy House at Kankasanture High Security Zone. The Defence Ministry last night said that the former Chief Justice had been accompanied by head of Anti-Doping Agency Professor Arjuna De Silva. A senior Defence Ministry official told media that De Silva had secured Navy headquarters authorization from him to stay at Navy House, open only to the President, senior military officials and their special guest. The former Chief Justice plays a pivotal role in the ongoing opposition campaign to defeat incumbent President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Indian Bharatiya Janata Party leader Subramaniam Swamy says 40% of Tamil nationals will cast their votes to President Mahinda Rajapaksa. Tamils did not cast their votes last time. If the Rajapaksa achieve victory in the election, he will take necessary steps to grant power devolution to Tamils, Swamy tweeted. Many people expressed appreciation to this tweet. Swamy promised to cast his support towards problems faced by the Tamil nationals. He also thanked Sri Lankan president to releasing 5 Indian fishermen.
The convener of the National Movement for Social Justice, Venerable Madhulwave Sobhita Thera, Opposition Leader Ranil Wickremesinghe, Democratic Party Leader Sarath Fonseka and frontline leaders of several political parties participated at this media briefing. Several civil society groups, including the University Teachers for a Just Society Movement and the Free Media Movement, were also represented at this media briefing.
In which country do they have a constitution that has been rejected by the country? The entire country is united in calling on the president, who has 2 more years in his term, to abolish the executive presidency and transfer executive powers to parliament as promised. If this government does not fulfill this demand, then at the upcoming presidential election, in order to have a common victory for the people, we will put forward a common opposition candidate acceptable to all, while maintaining the agendas of the individual political parties and work towards the victory of the policy rather than the individual. Abolishing the executive presidency, reinstating the 17th Amendment and changing the electoral system. We are all preparing to put forward a common candidate accepted by all, with the promise that this task will be completed in 6 months and that power will be transferred to Parliament. This government is the people. It consists of the Sama Samaja Party, the Communist Party and the Democratic Front. Many who raise their hands against this constitution are in the government. We invite all of them to join with us.
පොදු වැඩසටහනක් අපිට තිබුණේ නැහැ. එහෙනම් මේ සංකේත රැස්වීමේ
We did not have a common program. This symbolic meeting marks an agreement on a common platform, and we are going to take the next step. We have all agreed, in addition to the abolition of the executive presidency and the formation of a government accountable to Parliament, to reinstate the 17th Amendment and introduce a proportional and first-past-the-post system to replace the preferential voting system. Our first attempt to abolish the executive presidency will be through Parliament and through the government. If this can be done through the draft 19th Amendment, then we should adopt it. If this does not happen, then we will need to think about the next step. If we do not demonstrate and demand a free and fair election, our collective will not be successful. The President knows that the only way to suppress public will is to use the state mechanisms, to use government power and state finance to ensure that it will not be a free and fair election. A presidential election does not mean deciding on whether the incumbent president should be given a mandate as per public will or not. What should be questioned here is whether the state mechanism and limitless power can be used to change the result of the election. If we are going forward as a collective, if we are to put forward a common candidate, then we must know all of these things. We are prepared to take to the streets to uphold the people's power. It is much better to take to the streets before an election and ensure these rights than to take to the streets after an election.
ඉස්සෙල්ලා පාට බහැලා මේ අයිතිවාසිකම් විශේෂයෙන්ම තහවුරු කරගන්න.
දැනට අපේ පක්ෂය අරන් තියෙන ප්‍රතිපත්තිය තමයි මේක අහෝසි කිරීමම.
The policy of our party at present is not simply the abolition of the executive presidency, but that its limitless power is harmful to the country. Powers have been granted in order to work in the interest of the country. The problem in our country is that although powers have been vested, they are not used in the best interest of the country. The president works for his own interest. That is why we say that there must be a referendum on whether it should be abolished or not. As a person who has experience being the common candidate, I can say that coming forward as the common candidate is similar to walking towards the gallows. It is a life and death battle. You could lose everything. When you are the candidate, everyone flocks around you, but when the job goes wrong, there is nobody. When you are imprisoned, you are alone. So I say to the person who accepts the challenge of being the common candidate that because of the political culture and the mentality of our politicians, this cycle could be repeated. If the wrong person is chosen, our party will not pledge ourselves. We must definitely look into the person's history, their competence, their mentality, their character credence and their commitment to the country. We can only rally around a candidate if these conditions are fulfilled in keeping with our conscience.
Former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumarthunga issued a special statement on the occasion of this meeting, which was read out at the media briefing.
අපරටේ දේශපාලනය සංස්කෘතිය සහ ආණ්ඩුකරණය තුළ
I hold in high esteem the goal of having broad-based changes to the political culture and governance in our country. It has been stated that the common vision of the powerful collective that arose today is the abolition of the executive presidency, the re-empowerment of the 17th Amendment, democratic governance and the empowerment of the rights of the citizenry. I believe that this new collective has the strength and courage to bring forth humaneness, democracy, respect for human rights and an ethical society. I extend my fullest support and my blessings to this collective and extend my best wishes.
ආශිර්වාදාත්මක උණුසුම් සුභාශිංසන පළ කර සිටිමි.
මගේ පෞද්ගලික මතය නම් අතීතයේ වෙච්ච දේවල්
My personal opinion is that incidents in the past should be considered at depth, and without digging up history, we must leave aside individual agendas and adopt a common agenda for the country. This is where we can do it. What matters to us more than the person is the road that will be taken. I believe we have come to a position today. I have come here to make a policy decision and to forge ahead with the policies rather than decide on the person.
ප්‍රතිපත්තියම තීරණයක් අරගෙන ප්‍රතිපත්තිය හොඳ වැඩ කොටසක් අපිට ඉස්සරහට ගෙනියන්න.
TNA Pradesh Sabha members joined with UPFA yesterday. Tamil National Alliance Alaya Divembu Pradesh Sabha members Viramutu Tyagaraja crossed over the United People's Freedom Alliance yesterday. Addressing the monthly meeting, TNA members went on to say, "I have decided to join the ruling party to support President." Commander of Sri Lankan Air Force, Air Marshal Koltha Aravinda Gunatilaka yesterday called on Pakistan President Mamnoon Hussain.
Highlighting the existence of long-term bilateral ties between the two countries, the president said that Pakistan attached high importance to its cordial relations with Sri Lanka, the Daily Times in Pakistan reported. The president said that further strengthening of bilateral partnership in diverse areas would be mutually beneficial to the people of both countries. He emphasized on further enhancing the defense cooperation between the two countries.
JVP Provincial Councillor K.D. Lalkant says that we have taken all steps to defeat President Mahinda Rajapaksa. It's important to defeat President Mahinda Rajapaksa. All necessary steps would be taken prior and after filling nomination papers. In the past, JVP made various sacrifices in this regard. Earlier, Chandrika Kumaratunga promised to abolish executive presidency method from this island, but she refused to do so. President Mahinda Rajapaksa also follows the same path. We learn to build a power through parliamentary system. We stressed upon to hold parliamentary election in this country. People own power to implement changes in the constitution. They are attempting to hold presidential election on illegal manner. Speaking to media, K.D. Lalkanta went on to say, "We have joined hands with all powers to defeat President." India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who will be in Sri Lanka on Monday, will meet top leaders of the newly formed Common Opposition Platform.
In addition to meeting President Mahinda Rajapaksa, the Hindu learns the political sources in Colombo. Doval is on Monday scheduled to deliver the keynote address at Galle Dialogues 2014, an international conference on maritime security and cooperation in the coastal town of Galle in southern Sri Lanka. The President's office confirmed that the NSA was scheduled to meet Mr. Rajapaksa. In this meeting with the President and Sri Lanka's Defence Secretary, Mr. Doval is expected to discuss maritime security in Sri Lanka and Maldives, the Hindu reported. Pope Francis has called for an interfaith dialogue to counter fanaticism and fundamentalism at the start of a key visit to Turkey.
In a speech in Ankara, he also called for a renewed Mideast peace push, saying the region had for too long been a theater of fratricidal wars. He also urged more help for refugees from Syria and Iraq. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the visit was a significant step to enhance regional peace. The Pope's three-day trip, only the fourth visit by a pope to Muslim-majority Turkey, comes as Turkey hosts 1.6 million refugees on its southern border, after Islamic State seized swathes of neighboring Syria and Iraq. In a speech at a press conference, the Pope called for a dialogue which can deepen the understanding and appreciation between faiths. He said, "Fanaticism and fundamentalism, as well as irrational fears which foster misunderstanding and discrimination, need to be countered by the solidarity of all believers." The Pope called on nations of the Middle East to reverse the trend and advance peace in the region. He said, "Interreligious and intercultural dialogue can make an important contribution to attaining this lofty and urgent goal, so that there will be an end to all forms of fundamentalism and terrorism which gravely demean the dignity of every man and woman and exploit religion." Turning to the conflicts in Syria and Iraq, he said the international community had a moral duty to assist Turkey in taking care of refugees. In addition to providing much-needed assistance and humanitarian aid, we cannot remain indifferent to the causes of these tragedies, he said. He condemned the violation of the most basic humanitarian laws by extremists and the persecution of Christian and other minorities.
Nigeria's president has pledged to leave no stones unturned, is tracking down the preparation of the mosque attack that killed dozens of people.
Goodluck Jonathan urged the nation to confront the common enemy after the gun and bomb attack during Friday's prayers in the northern city of Kano. Many more people were injured, with one rescue official putting casualty figures at almost 400. Officials said the attack bore all the hallmarks of Boko Haram militant group. However, no one has so far claimed responsibility for Friday's assault. Separately, the security forces said they had foiled an attempt to attack worshippers in the northeastern city of Maiduguri, defusing 6 bombs planted in a mosque and a nearby market. Boko Haram has been waging an insurgency in Nigeria since 2009 and has killed more than 2,000 people this year, rights groups say.
Philip Hughes was a great player, Angelo Matthews said at the pre-match press conference, second ODI England in Sri Lanka.
Well, first of all, we were all deeply shocked and saddened about this whole incident. It was totally surprising, unexpected. Phil Hughes is a very humble guy, calm gentleman, and he's a fighter when he comes to cricket. And I think the loss of him definitely is going to be a big loss for cricket. Look, it was an unfortunate incident, and we never expect something like this to happen in ball bouncing. And even the bowlers, even when they're aggressive, you don't expect them to get hurt. It's just a game of cricket, and it was just an unfortunate incident. So I think there won't be any thoughts regarding ball bouncing, but I think it was just an unfortunate incident, and our thoughts and prayers to his family, loved ones, his teammates, and the Australian cricket fans and fans across the world. It is a bit unfortunate. That was the first thing I heard when I woke up last morning, and it was, I had a very tough day going through it, because even though he's an Australian, he's our mate, and he's a friend of yours, it is very difficult to go through. But I hope and pray that this such incident.
That's for the news today. Have a pleasant night.